Okay, if you go back to what we were on, slide 19, I'm going to show you when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, this is what a 45 looked like. Okay, let me hold it back to my head so you can see. All right, love this record. I have a whole bunch of these in the garage. I need to take better care of them. This was from the Dial Company, distributed by Atlantic Record Sales, from New York. It was a 45. It was a vocal. It's the song Show Me by Joe Tex. Love this song. And it would put on here the time. It was a 2 minute and 53-second recording. Great song. Look it up online. Joe Tex, Show Me. Love it. Okay, moving right along here to 20. Cylinder Records competed with the flat discs for a number of years, but by the time of the First World War, the disc record had become the standard. Okay? So this is what you find with any kind of technology. Write this down. I'm probably going to ask you a question about it. As one technology is starting to become obsolete, a new one enters the market, and they compete for a while until one shows that it is superior, either in quality or people like it more for some reason, and it will outdo the other so much that the other one just can't compete anymore and it drops out. So when they say that Cylinder Records competed with the flat discs for a number of years, but then by World War I, the disc record was it, and there were no more Cylinder Records. Supply and demand. That's also something in technology that you need to remember, not just for this class, but for life in general. By 1914, record players and collections spur a national boom in sales, and the trend runs hot through the 1920s. This was a big deal to have a phonograph, basically a record player. Tin Pan Alley was an area in Manhattan, New York, where music publishers had located close to theaters and vaudeville houses. Tin Pan Alley eventually became a generic reference to the music publishing business that hired composers and lyricists on a permanent basis to write popular songs. One of the super names to come out of Tin Pan Alley was Irving Berlin, who wrote some of the most patriotic and most heartwarming religious songs. He wrote White Christmas, one of the top sellers of all time. I believe he lived to be 100 years old. He's a whole class in himself. We could teach a whole class on Irving Berlin if we wanted to. But at any rate, we're talking about the teens, the 19 teens, and through the 20s. Okay? Moving on to slide 22, until 1925, all records were made by performing into that horn, which limited the range and type of music. So the idea of using an electrical signal from a microphone to drive an electromagnetic disc recording device was developed. Every semester I teach this class, I marvel more at what these people who were tinkering in their basements came up with. Is just astounding to me. I will always be impressed by what they were able to create from their homes. 1925, the first electrically recorded discs and orthophonic phonographs went on sale. Just remember, 1925, first electrically recorded. So we're now going away from that horn that you would speak or sing into, and we're going to an electric process. Using Western Electric System developed at AT&T's Bell Labs over the previous 10 years. So now it is possible to record whole orchestras and symphonies and even sound motion pictures. We have two industries, at least two industries, happening at the same time. We're going to get into film next, but we've got, what did film need? Film started out silent. They were the silent movies. Why? Well, because we weren't far enough along with this recording business to put the sound into the movies. But as you see here, when we went to the electrical system, we started to make that possible. Now, we have amplification, happened in the 1920s. If you don't know who this is, maybe you can read his signature. That's Bing Crosby. He was known as a crooner. The way they sang was called crooning. The electromagnetic recording became possible because of the development of amplification techniques. Circuits were developed for the radio industry, amps and microphones. Just remember this, amplifiers and microphones. That was happening in the 1920s. By using the microphone, recordings of public performances became much easier. I can position the microphone in a certain place to pick up certain sounds. Bing Crosby was the first to use the microphone as an instrument. He sang into the mic, more intimate than acoustic singing, just singing out there. He used the mic. So I want you to remember about Bing Crosby and that he was a crooner, and then at the 1920s, he was recognized as the first person to actually use the microphone as an instrument. Though the recording industry vastly improved its sound system and radio record record player combination devices were promoted, audiences continued to identify radio as the home of live music and recorded music as a canned sound. Now, on the radio, you could hear Bing Crosby give a live performance. And that was okay to people. The radio was almost like being there. But on a record, it wasn't quite the same sound. So we move on to slide 25, magnetic tape. Magnetic recording, which is today used for video and audio tape, was first introduced around 1899-1900 by Valdemar Poulsen. Don't have to remember his name. He's just one of many, many inventors who improved things. He was Danish. He patented the telegraphone, a device to record sound on a steel wire or tape. He later designed a model to answer the telephone automatically and record a message. All right, he took Edison's idea and made it real. Okay, so let's remember Poulsen's name for doing that. Poulsen basically created voicemail. A voicemail recording system for the telephone. Now on 26, magnetic tape. Not going to go into too much of this, but here we go. We hear this man's name quite a bit now. David Sarnoff of RCA installed the first secret recording devices in the White House. I want you to remember that. David Sarnoff. He put the first secret recording devices in the White House. 1940, which president was that? That was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So now that presidents got used to having this recording device in their offices, It is the recording device that undid Richard Nixon's presidency. Because when people found out that he had tapes of all of these secret conversations with his cabinet, and when they heard what was on the tapes, that did him in. Okay. All right, we've got Bing Crosby again. All right, we're going to stop here and continue in a minute.